This video will show you how to use this free Perfumery formulation app that I built for myself, but you can use it as well. It's free. You don't need an account. It stores data on your computer. You can find it if you go to the website perfumertools-olive.versal.app. There's going to be a link in the description as well. The first thing I want to show you is the navigation, which you find at the top left. You can think of these as tabs. The first one is the calculator, for you to easily calculate dilutions, how much material you need, how much solvent you need. We'll go over this. The second one is formulation. This is where you will spend most of your time, and this is the main page of the app. There's also a materials library and an accords library. First, let's start with the dilution tool, because that's very simple. The reason I built this is because I was confused by the formulas, and I wanted to very quickly see how much material I need, how much solvent, based on what is the starting dilution and where I want to end up. So for example, if I'm diluting a neat material, I say 100%. Let's say I want it to be 10% dilution. How much of this I want, that's target weight. Let's say I want 3 grams of this, and I'm trying to fit this within a 5 ml bottle. Instantly I can see I need 0.3 grams of the material and 2.7 of the solvent. On the right side, it also visualizes what it might look like, how much of the bottle would be filled based on the density, which on average is like 0.85. The reason this is important is because you cannot fit 5 grams of perfume juice into a 5 ml bottle because the physics just do not allow for that. It's a little helper. Let's say you buy material and it's already diluted to 50%. It works just as well. You can dilute to 1%, you can dilute to 0.1%, do whatever you want with this. So let's say you have a neat concentrate of your juice and you want a 20% EDP and you're trying to fit it in a 30 ml. So you can experiment, like how much can I fit? 28 would be too much. 25 maybe too much, maybe right on the edge. I use this every day, and you can use this on your phone as well. The app is mobile responsive. Next, before we can dive into the formulation view, we need to import some materials. Because although you can simply come in here and write your name, like Ambrofix for example, you will have to do it every time, and that will get quite tiring and it takes a long time. Therefore, you can come to the materials library, add a new material, give it a name, give it the CAS number, and you can set how long does this material last. It depends on you whether or not you measure lifespan on the skin or on the blotter, but you would measure the lifespan, which is a part of you learning your materials, right? You would figure out if this is a high silage material or low, meaning does this fill the room or is it more like a skin close material? Then you can also set strength. So is this the kind of material that will overtake the formula, or is it a more low-key material like benzyl salicylate versus something very strong like castoreum? And you can set the starting dilution. So if your material already comes pre-diluted, like I have 50% galaxolide, I would set the dilution as 50, and this will be useful because when you go to add your material, let's say we add your material, as you can see on the dilution column, it already sets the dilution. You can change the type if it's a unknown, synthetic, natural, or a blend. This just helps you categorize things better. You can click on this lightning and enable physics, also cost and family, which lets you further customize your material library. So you can assign a family, for example ambers. Here I have listed the ones you'll find usually. Finally, there's price per grams. Although it says euros, it doesn't matter for the app. You can type your dollar price or whatever currency you use, and this will help you understand how much your formula costs. Finally, in the materials library, if you know the molecular weight, vapor pressure, and other threshold values for your material, which you can find on the internet by searching technical data sheets or by searching the Good Sense company, you can type in these values and it will help you when you click visualize here. It will show you a timeline of how your material evolves and how strong it is in comparison to other materials. that is going to be quite useful. Most perfumers store their material library on Google Sheets or Excel, so don't worry about that. You can easily export your Google Sheets in a CSV format and import into the app. If you go to File Export, you should be able to export as CSV, which stands for comma separated values. Just make sure you have your header labeled as name, lifespan, sillage, strength, dilution, family. I will include these headers in the description so you know exactly what to name them. But that's all you have to do. Just name your headers, export as CSV, click import. So here I have my materials. I'm going to open, and it just imported all of my 140 materials, which I store on Google Sheets mainly, but I import for the app and it automatically categorized by synthetics, naturals, and blends. For this formulation view, I will quickly give you an overview of what each button does, and then we will build a formula together. I'll give you some examples. The idea is very simple. This is your scratch pad, your formula pad. It's not supposed to store your formula. You don't have to leave Google Sheets forever in favor of this app. This app is simply to make formulation easier, because Google Sheets, although it has a lot of functions, can be overwhelming. In my case, I get anxious that I might delete a formula from some cell, and it's also not aesthetic, which is important for me. Therefore, I do all my formulation in this app, and afterwards I paste it in Notion with just one button here, copy table. It's super simple, and I'm not wasting time doing repetitive work. At the top, you can give this formula a name. This is simply for your reference, since the app allows for tabs. For example, we'll say Formula 1. If we click on this plus icon, we can open a new tab and work on the next formula. At the moment, I've limited the tabs to 3 so you don't go crazy. I don't think you would need any more, but the reason you might use tabs is if you're comparing two formulas side by side, or you want to create variations and deviate from the main path a little bit. Talking about tabs, you can also duplicate the existing tab to a new one with all the rows and everything exactly the same. Then on the top right side, you will see a few buttons. The first one is to add a new row. The second one is to scale the formula by weight or by multiplier. The third one lets you add a solvent like ethanol or DPG. Therefore, you don't need to add it in your materials library here. It is excluded from all the percentages and relative calculations. This fourth button is to add a new accord, but we have none, so it doesn't show anything yet. And the final one has more functions underneath, like I can copy the table to my clipboard and I can paste this in Google Sheets when I'm done, or in Notion, whatever app you're using, ChatGPT. You can duplicate new tab, you can minimize the formula, sort, import or export this as CSV, visualize, and save this as an accord. Plus also you can delete everything from this view. Below that you will see the name of the material that you can add, the grams, relative percentage, and if you click on this you can toggle to absolute, which includes all the solvents and dilutions, and the dilution tab shows you what is going to be the final dilution of this. At the very bottom you can see the totals, a rough estimate on what this would look like in milliliters, how much it would cost, and what is the percentage of the final dilution. You can click this to toggle the extra information. Let's create a citrus accord to see what the accord function might look like. So let's say we use bergamot. You just type the name. You can use arrow keys to navigate, press enter to select, press the arrow right to move to the grams field, just like in Google Sheets, and you can type in how many grams you want of this. The app allows you to calculate by using plus, minus, you can multiply. No need to do math while you're being creative. If you double click on the dilution, you can dilute this 100% material to 50, 10, 1, or a custom value like 3. If you click update weight to match dilution, it will increase or decrease the grams to make sure the relative percentage is the same. For example, right now we have 10 grams for bergamot. If we click 50, it means to get the same amount of neat bergamot with this kind of dilution, we would need 20 grams. So it updated. I also have to mention that if you right click on the material name, you can set a highlight, you can change an emoji. This makes it easier to understand what each material does. There's some other features, but you'll explore them on your own. If you're in the grams field or nothing is selected, you can press arrow down to add a new material. Let's say we'll add lemon of 3 grams, and maybe let's add black pepper of 2 grams. As you can see, the relative percentage is being calculated. If you want to remove the emoji or change, just hover it and right click, and you can reset it. You can press V on the keyboard or come here to visualize to quickly see what your accord might look like. Now, these values are not perfect because the bergamot and lemon, they are natural materials, so we don't have specific molecular weights and things like that available, or at least I didn't find them. So take these formulas with a grain of salt, but at least when it comes to longevity, that you can measure yourself, and that would be accurate. The visualization simply shows you how long each material lasts and how long the entire formula might last. So in this case, it's like 2-3 hours. The citrus would die before 1 hour, most likely in around 15 minutes. And then the formula would collapse into black pepper. We can also pin this view by clicking on this button. I'm still working on the visualization mode to make sure it's accurate. But if you don't trust this view, you can just use this longevity view. It can also help you see that, for example, right now, the formula would collapse after, less than 30 minutes, to be fair. I just need to adjust my values here. Bergamot, probably like 20 minutes. And the lemon, I would say maybe 10. So let's visualize this again. We can see we have nothing that will last about an hour. So there's quite a gap in the perfume. Well, let's say we add lavender. I'm not saying this is the best choice in this scenario. And if we still want to improve the evolution of this perfume, we might add something like ethylenolul. No, that's the same as lavender. Okay, I found cypress essential oil. Lasts less than lavender. So we could add this. It's just an example. This formula probably doesn't smell that good, but I'm demonstrating the visualization mode. And now, let's say we're happy with this. We can click here, save this as an accord. We can give it a name, maybe citrusy lavender. You can give it an image. We'll say citrus, just for a quick demonstration. Copy image link. Come back to our website, paste it in, and let's say this lasts around, 120 minutes. Travels quite far, strength medium. This is just for yourself. You can also give it a small emoji to remind yourself what it smells like. Now let's say we start a new tab, right? Let's say here we have our accord. We click here to start a new tab, and let's rename this. And here we can have our formula. Let's see. If we click here, we can now see our accord. Let's add this as an entry, which groups it, makes it easy to manage, shows you the dilution, which you can change, by the way, here. You can expand it, you can edit individual values, but those values will be only updated in this formula, not the original accord that you have saved. Or you can delete this. You can also add this as materials, so it's deconstructed, and that's why we added the emoji, so that now we know these all came from the same accord. Looking at this formula right now, it doesn't seem to last too long, maybe 2-3 hours with the black pepper included. Let's try to increase the longevity of this. Well, let's add benzoyl resinoid. So now we've expanded our longevity to around 8 hours, but if we're really looking into this, the 8 hours is just benzoyl resinoid. The pink pepper will last us maybe 3 hours, and then it's going to collapse. So we need to engineer the dry down so it's not just benzoyl. Maybe we want an ambery base, an ambery dry down, so we can add vanillin. We can add labdanum, which extends the longevity even more, so maybe 12 hours or something. I'm going to demonstrate another feature here. You can highlight materials and you can drag them around. I could come here and drag this to the bottom so they're all in the same place. Or if I shift and click, I can drag all of the same colors to the top, which I prefer to do. I prefer to keep my bases at the top and my top notes at the bottom. If you want to exclude a certain material from this visualizer, you can just click on it and it's going to update the visualizer. Finally, let's say we are ready to blend this perfume, and let's say your brain is like mine. You add a material and then you forget if you added or not. Don't worry, you can just click on this check mark to mark this material as added. You never have to forget again. This is super useful whenever I'm working with materials. To demonstrate the duplicate tab functionality, if we duplicate the tab, and you can see we are exactly the same thing. So maybe we want to experiment and see what would it look like if we used musks instead of these resins. And let's replace labdanum with something like galaxolide. Looks like we have increased the longevity of this perfume slightly. Let's say now I'm ready to export this. I'm done with this. I personally use Notion to store my formulas, so I just come here and click copy table. Or if you store your formulas on Google Drive, you can just come here and click paste in here, and there you go. It works in the other direction as well. If I copy the grams and the material, no need to include the total or the CAS, although you can include the CAS for easier matching. If I come back to the app, let's reset this. If I paste this and say OK, now we have the formula in here. It matched our materials, it set the grams, it set the dilutions, everything. I hope this tutorial was useful. Go give this a try. Like I said, it's 100% free, no accounts, everything is stored on your computer. It's not stored in some shady databases. It's just a tool to make life easier and help you stay creative instead of managing calculations and formulas while you need your creative juices flowing. Thanks for watching. If you have any recommendations for how to improve this, or you try this and want to give feedback, you can write in the comments or DM me personally.